Joining me is Brendan O'Neill, political editor of Spiked Online. Brendan O'Neill, what do you think is going on here?
Something very important is going on here. Now, of course, if you read the liberal media coverage here in the UK and in other parts of Europe, you would think that the far right was storming to power. So Giorgia Meloni in Italy is being referred to as Italy's first far right leader since Mussolini. So there are real attempts already, even before she's officially been declared as prime minister, to depict her as a modern day fascist. And of course, the same was done with the Sweden Democrats, the right-wing party who did incredibly well in Sweden's election recently. This is not about people wanting the far right to come back into power. This is, as you say, about ordinary voters wanting to push back against the anti-borders, woke agenda of the European Union in particular, and to reclaim some of those things that we used to think were good, like national sovereignty, democratic rights, and the right of a nation to determine its future for itself. That really is what is inspiring people, I think, in these various different countries.
But it's interesting, isn't it, how the media here too, Brendan, same thing, fascist, neo-fascist, whatever. But we're also seeing this labelling of people that do represent the people who feel marginalised, who feel the country's been turned on its head, that feel shut out. In America too, President Biden is doing a very deliberate campaign to call supporters of Donald Trump fascists as well, or what does he call them? Semi-fascists. There are various varieties now of fascists, Scott, mutating like the virus. What do you think is going on with this labelling?
It's incredibly dangerous, I think, and I've noticed this in so-called liberal circles or leftish circles, the Democratic establishment in the US and the Labour establishment here in the UK, and I'm sure the Labour establishment in Australia too. There is this tendency now to write off their critics and their opponents as hard right, as fascists. If you voted for Brexit, you're a fascist. If you support Trump, you're a semi-fascist. It's like Hillary Clinton's old comment about a basket of deplorables. It's like that comment on steroids, this idea that there are millions of people out there in the US, in Britain, in Australia, who are poisonously minded, hard right lunatics who want to destroy their own countries. That is really the image that significant sections of the elite have of ordinary people. I find it incredibly creepy and very dangerous. And if you look at somewhere like Italy, who is the real threat to Italy? Last week, a couple of days before the elections, Ursula von der Leyen, who's the president of the European Commission, she was asked what would happen if Italy voted in a right-wing party, which it's now done. She said, well, we have tools to deal with countries that go in a problematic direction. And she referred to Poland and Hungary, who have both had certain funds withdrawn because they're not seen as politically correct enough in their politics. So we have the European Union threatening to use tools against a country for a democratic vote. So who's really behaving in the extremist fashion here? I would say it's Brussels, not the people of Italy.
Well, who's acting like a fascist here? The unelected head of the EU or the elected Prime Minister of Italy? I mean, seriously.